It's a massive risk and most people just aren't willing to take it, but that's the risk. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. Massive shout out to all of you who have been rating and reviewing this podcast. The numbers are cranking. Thank you so much. My team are loving you. If you haven't already done so, remember to rate and review the podcast after this episode. Anyway, let's get into risk. Do you know, I've been getting asked quite a lot lately, how do I deal with risk? And this has all come about because I've just confirmed my US trip and my tour around the US. And so I'm booking in a bunch of podcasts. I'm spending a lot of money already. We haven't confirmed really too much apart from some big podcast hosts or some big podcast guests. I'm going to be doing some cool new stuff with the podcast, which is coming soon. But the thing is, like, this trip and this tour is probably going to cost us $100,000 to $150,000 at this stage. Now, do we have the money to do that? And the answer is no. But do we have the money not to do it? And the answer is no. Why I'm saying that is because so many of you out there are risk adverse. You're afraid of taking the risk. That normally comes because of a few different reasons. It normally becomes because you don't have a big enough vision. You let your fears define your behavior, not your vision and your mission. You don't really have a success map for your business. Any business owner out there who is stuck, who's going around in circles, who's worried about the money, who's worried about stuff, who essentially focuses on worry, you're going to be risk adverse, and then you're going to take stupid risks instead of intelligent risks. This happens because most business owners don't have a clear success map for their business. Now, if I look at most people's personal life, they don't want to take risks because they don't have a clear success map for their life. In my life, I only have one option, and that is to be one of the world's greatest personal development coaches. That's the only thing I focus on. I really do not give a shit about going bankrupt. I don't care about losing everything. I mean, I do, but I just don't. Because the ultimate risk for me is living a life that was completely unfulfilled because I played too safe. And I see it every day. And most of you who are listening to this are playing way too safe. You might say, well, I want to build my business. But at the same time, your daily decisions and your daily actions are that of fear. You're afraid that staff might leave. You're afraid that you won't have the money. You watch the bank account all the time. You see all the bills coming in and going out, and that stresses you out with cash flow. That can happen. Then you go home and you talk to your partner and you're like, oh, I don't know if I should do this stuff. I don't know. What do you think? Now they're going to turn around and go, well, I don't know. It seems risky to me. And then they go back to their fears and their worries and their concerns and what's important to them. And they project their values onto you. And then you sit there and you're like, oh yeah, you're probably right. And so now you keep playing smaller. Then your partner comes home and says, hey, what about this? What about if we go on a holiday or buy another investment property or do this? And you're like, oh yeah, but what about the cash? What about this? And then you put all your shit onto them. And so they start playing small. And now you're surrounded by a bunch of motherfuckers that are always playing small. You're playing small. Your partner's playing small. All your friends play small because you say, hey, I'm going to do this thing. And your friends go, oh, be careful. I saw on a current affair. I saw on the news. I saw this. I saw that. And so now you're just surrounded by a bunch of people who all play small. Now, by the way, just because some of the people around you might be playing a little bit bigger than others doesn't mean they're crushing it. Like, if you go and hang out with most people, it's not that hard to do a little bit better than them if you just work a little bit harder and you put in a little bit more effort. That's about it. So some people think that they're crushing it in life because they're doing a little bit better than their friends. But that doesn't mean that you're doing better. It doesn't mean that you're doing good because the comparative between where you're at and your vision is the only thing that matters. If you sit there and you're watching sport on the weekend feeling like shit and you're hating yourself because you've got this big goal and this big dream and this big vision about what you want to create in life, but you're playing small, you're essentially destroying your life. The same as a meth head destroys their own life, right? There's not much difference, right? They're just using drugs. You're using distractions. Same thing, right? You might think that you're better than someone who's a crackhead, but the truth is that there's not much difference, right? They're doing stupid shit. You're doing stupid shit. They're playing small. You're playing small. They can't control their emotions. You can't control your emotions. They can't control their mindset. You can't control your mindset, right? So the thing that you really need to focus on is your success map. What is your vision in life? What is your mission in life? What is your purpose in life? What are your values? What are your big goals? What are you trying to achieve? Like if you sat there every day and thought, you know what, I really would love to travel around the world in a yacht. And you keep giving up on that day after day after day because you wake up in the morning, you're like, shit, I got to pay the bills, got to get the kids to school, got to do it. And then now all of a sudden you're just trapped in this monotonous life that's going around in circles. After a while, your self-confidence is going to get destroyed. Your self-respect, your self-worth. And then what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you feel like shit about yourself because you know that you're letting things slip? You know that you're letting things down. What are you going to do now? You're going to drink more? You're going to distract yourself more because your brain's screaming at you every day going, What are you doing with your life? And you know that you're doing that. If you're listening to this right now and you know that you're doing that, I can tell you right now, you are unclear on your success map. And for those of you who have done my Thrive Time event, if this is starting to happen, you've got to go back and do exactly what you were taught at that event. Rejig your map. As you grow, your map should grow. I work on my success map at least every 6 months to a year. But I go back to it because if you're driving a car, and let's say you're driving from one place to another, as you get more confident, you start taking windier roads if you enjoy driving. If you're a four-wheel driver, you start taking on greater terrain. Our life is exactly the same. The more competent we become and the more skills we have, the bigger the mission grows. The more self-belief we have, the bigger the mission grows. The more self-worth, self-love, self-respect we have, the more the mission grows. The bigger our knowledge, the bigger the mission should grow. So as we grow, the mission, the vision, the values, your whole success map needs to expand. Because in life, there's only two things. We're either growing or we're dying. Now, for a lot of you out there, you are coasting. But I can say that if you're coasting, you're only coasting downwards. You don't coast upwards, you only coast downwards. If you're driving the car and you accelerate and you're on the highway and you take your foot off the accelerator, the car slowly starts slowing down. And you're getting less and less further. Eventually, things are going to overtake you. You might be getting overtaken in life because you're not keeping your foot on the accelerator. You're not moving fast enough, and you have to move faster, right? That's just the way that it is. You have to keep moving fast and you have to grow. Life forces us to grow. Now, if you don't want to grow, life will kick you in the ass, and it's going to kick you in the ass through a tragedy. It's going to kick you in the ass through having everything taken away. So if you're not growing in your relationship, expect a divorce. If you're not growing in your family, expect that to be torn apart. Now, how do you grow in your family? Well, you grow by having a clear mission, a vision, a values, a success map, and you become the inspiration in your family. You learn how to communicate more effectively. If it wasn't for being a good communicator, my family would probably be torn apart because there are so many things that used to piss me off about my family. But these days, I just learn how to communicate more effectively with them. They say something, I sit there, I think about it, and I go, interesting. And I start communicating with them. They go, oh shit, I didn't mean it that way. Whereas, do you know how many friends I have who their whole family has been torn apart because someone says something that pisses someone else off? They don't know how to communicate, so they yell. Then that person's yelling at another person in the family and they both don't like each other now. And now they don't miss Christmas parties. And what a clusterfuck. So any area of life you're not growing in, you're dying in. If you're coasting in any area, it's gone backwards. If you're coasting with money, inflation is chewing your ass up right now because everything's getting more expensive. So if you have $100,000 in the bank, that $100,000 gives you less buying power because everything goes up in price. Life forces you to grow. I've watched people who coast with their wealth eventually have their wealth ripped away through a divorce, through a family emergency. People who coast in their health, they get sick. That destroys their wealth, right? You want to see your wealth get destroyed? Get sick. So what my point is, if you're not growing in the key areas of life, which is health, wealth, relationships, and mindset, health, wealth, relationships, mindset, if you're not consistently working on those key areas and consistently growing them, believe me, you're coasting. Things are going to get ripped away to force you to grow. So you have to keep growing. This is exactly why I created my Dominate program. I created my Dominate program because people kept coming to me and saying, my life's out of balance. I'm not growing fast enough. I'm not growing to where I want to be. I'm not getting the results I want. Oh shit, I got sick and now my money's gone. Or my relationship's starting to have some problems and I can't work as much. My business isn't growing. No shit. So health, wealth, relationships, mindset. If you're not consistently working on those areas, they're coasting, you're going backwards. That's why I created Dominate and I made it easily accessible to anyone in the world. It's $47 a month US. You can cancel anytime, but I don't want you to cancel. I want you to be in the community. I do weekly coaching calls. Every Monday night is a coaching call and you can listen to the replays and so on. Why do I do it? Because if you're not consistently expanding those 4 areas of life, believe me, you are coasting and you are coasting downhill. Everything's slowing down. Well, you're slowing down. Everything else is going to pass your ass by because you gave up on your goals, your vision, your mission. As you grow, your mission is going to grow so that it keeps you inspired. It keeps you enthusiastic. It keeps you wanting to expand. Like I meet all these people and they're like, I want financial freedom. The reason why no one ever gets financial freedom, brokies want financial freedom. My rich friends don't want financial freedom. They want growth. They want to take on bigger challenges. They want to open up new opportunities. Brokies want financial freedom, right? When people are like, well, you know what? I just want a good relationship. You want to know how you get a good relationship? You be the best motherfucker you can be from the second you wake up until the second you go to bed. And when you're beaming with energy and you're an inspiration to the people around you and you've got better communication skills and you are consistently growing as an individual, watch what happens to the people around you, right? Now, you know what? They're probably going to challenge you because when I started growing, Jess challenged me a shitload. But I had to learn how to communicate more effectively because she was scared. She was happy being in a nice little comfort zone where she was completely uncomfortable. And most people are, right? They're comfortably uncomfortable where she was stuck. She knew she was stuck, but that made her scared. And the more scared she became, the more stuck she became. And the more stuck she became, the more scared she became. So as I grew, she's like, shit, this guy who I love is growing. Now I'm more scared. And so life's changing around her. You know, we see it on the news, we see it in the media. Things are changing all the time. That scares people even more. So you're going to walk into your friends and family and your loved ones and you're going to say, hey, I'm growing. I'm growing my business. I'm growing my life. I'm growing my wealth. I'm growing my health. And you expect them that they're going to sit there and go, oh, cool. That is amazing. Go for it. We've got your back. We would love to see you succeed. They sit there and they go, oh shit, this scares the crap out of me because it's another thing that's changing. The world's changing around me. My relationships are changing. My friendships are changing. My health is changing. All of these things are consistently changing around me. Remember, the aging process automatically makes things change. So all this stuff is changing around me. Now this person who is close to me is changing as well. Shit. So they're going to try to create some sort of certainty and pull you back to where you currently are. They are going to not want you to change. You have to make sure that you remind them that this is okay, that this makes them feel safe. I had a conversation with one of my staff members today and they broke down in tears and I said, why, what's going on? And she said, I just don't want to fail. I just don't want to make mistakes. And I said, look, if we stay where we are, we're already making mistakes. We've already failed. And I went to some of my social media and I showed the accounts and I said, if we keep getting our videos with that many views, what does that mean? And she said, yeah, I guess we've failed. And I said, okay, what about this one? And she said, yeah, I guess we're failing. And I said, what about this one? And she said, yeah, I guess we're failing. And I said, if we keep doing what we're doing, can you see that that's the ultimate mistake? And she said, yeah, now I do. And I said, so can you see that we're already failing? So fuck it, who cares? Let's just have a crack and see what happens. And then she smiled at me and she's like, I never thought of it that way. But that's how I think about life, right? Is that the ultimate mistake is not growing. It's not being better. It's not improving ourselves. And so if you're scared or you're afraid, the ultimate fear, the ultimate thing that's going to destroy your life is not changing. The best thing that you can do is have a crack. And so when I thought about this US trip, I was like, you know what? I can say no because I'm not ready yet, which most of you out there is exactly what you do every day. An opportunity pops up and you say, I'm not ready. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. People around me don't support me. It's like the most common shit that I hear. Oh, I'll probably do it in 6 months. Motherfucker, you were ready 6 months ago, but you keep putting it off because nothing forces you to grow. When you have to grow, you will force yourself to grow. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. Do I know that I'm going to be able to get the results that I want? I don't know. But what I know is that if I stay the same, nothing's going to change. So I have to make the commitment to grow. So every day I've been working harder than what I ever have been. You know, I worked all weekend until late. Why? Because I've made the commitment now. And you've heard me say this before. If you don't make the commitment, you're not really committed, right? It's one of my favorite quotes that I made up. I've never heard it from anyone else, but I say it. If you're not committed, you're not committed. And a lot of you aren't committing. But what my point is, right, is that if you don't commit to stuff, you're never really committed. I was committed to my vision of being one of the best in the personal development space on the planet. And so when this opportunity came up, I said, fuck it, Jess, I have to take it. And then the first thing that she said was, well, how are we going to get the money? And I said, I don't know. But I just know that I've got to lock it in. I've got to lock in the time. I've got to lock in everything. And she said, okay, well, I guess we have to do it then. I said, of course we have to do it. And that made me reconfigure everything. The moment that I committed, I had to commit. So, you know, I kept putting it off. Do you know, last year I said to Jess, I want to be in the US in September on my birthday when I turn 40. And you know what? I never really committed because I didn't lock anything in. This year, I kept reaching out to people saying, hey, I need to get you on my podcast. Hey, can I get on this podcast? And I was reaching out to people. And the first person who came back, who's a fairly big guy in the US, he said, mate, I will definitely be on your podcast. I went, cool. I'm going to be in the US in September. Bang, we locked in the date. We locked in everything. Boom, I got to go now. That's it. The commitment was made. So now I'm committed. And so in the last week or so, I've had to rejig the whole team. I've had to build out better process. I've had to build out better structure because I have to make this work. So I've spent all of my spare time training the team, developing the team, helping them grow because I have to. There's no other way now. Because I committed. And if you're not getting the results you want, it's because you never really committed. Imagine walking into the gym and saying, in 12 weeks, I committed to doing a photo shoot in my underwear. You reckon you'd dial your nutrition in pretty quick in your exercise? Fucking oath you would, because you committed. But when you walk into the gym, you're like, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind losing weight. Nah. You go to the gym for 3 days and then you don't go back for a month and then you're eating pizza every night because it's not the right time yet. You know, you'll start next week or next month or, you know, maybe next year, and you'll keep putting it off. The same with your finances. When you go out and you buy an extra property and you're like, shit, I've got to come up with an extra $500 a week or else we're fucked. Then you have to go and find how to make 500 extra bucks a week, because if not, you know that you're going to be destroyed. So you have to force yourself to grow. But when you commit, now you're committed to the growth. Most of you out there are not committed to your results. You're not committed to your growth. And it's probably because you don't actually know what you're trying to achieve. That's really what it comes down to. I would say that most of you who have done Thrive Time, who did it ages ago, probably haven't gone back and tweaked your success map. Probably a good idea to do that. For those of you who haven't done Thrive Time, you probably have no clarity, proper clarity around your own individual success map and the 3 key pillars that make that success map, which is what drives your fulfillment, what drives your direction and your drive, and then finally the performance psychology in order to get there so that you don't keep self-sabotaging, procrastinating, giving up, and fucking around in life. That's the difference. Right, do you know what was awesome? On Sunday, I went to a supercar drive day, and in there were 14 cars. All of those 14 cars, mine was probably the cheapest because I took the Audi R8 there. But some of the cars were over $1 million, right? And so we went driving through the hills and everything like that. When you speak to those people, they are highly driven. So my mate who just bought a brand new Lamborghini, he picked that up. Now, he had to fly back to Brisbane that night because he's a plastic surgeon. And I said, why did you go to Brisbane? And he said, because I wanted to do extra training, extra development to develop my skills. So he said, I made a commitment to spend a year up in Brisbane learning from the best people in the world. And I'll just fly back to Adelaide. And, you know, he flew back to Adelaide to pretty much go on a drive and then flew back up there. Now, some of you are thinking, well, that's easy because he's rich. But maybe he's rich because that's what he does. He's rich because of how he thinks. And then in his spare time, when he gets holidays, do you know what he does? He hops on a plane and flies to third world countries to do cleft palate surgery on kids. That's what he does for a holiday. You telling me that that motherfucker isn't driven? That's driven. That's why that guy makes millions of dollars every year. Because he is driven. He's not driven because he just woke up one day and was driven. He's driven because he commits to things and has to work it and makes himself better and grows and expands. You know, he's a massive inspiration to me. All of the guys and girls there were all the same. Like, there were doctors, there were plastic surgeons, there was, you know, dentists, there was a bunch of business owners. You know, you look at the drive. We're all there at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning, ready to go. All the cars are cleaned. Everyone dresses well. And when I say dress well, you know, we're not all wearing suits and ties and stuff. But no one rocked up in like an old pair of fucked out tracksuit pants and an old pair of shoes. Like, everyone looks nice. They're well presented. You just can tell that they're different. Their posture is better. They stand better. They communicate more effectively. These are all skills that they've had to develop. This wasn't just gifted to them at birth. These are things that they've had to develop. And all of you, anyone who's listening to this, can develop all of those skills. But you have to commit so that you can commit. If you're not committed, you are not committed. And until you commit to something that forces your growth, you will not grow. I guarantee it. You will not put the pressure on yourself to grow. You will go back to being what's comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you'll shit your pants every day because you're scared, because your money's not growing, your health's not growing, your relationships aren't improving, and you're going to get caught up in all of these little problems all the time. One of my staff members said to me today, they said, here's my priorities. And I said, okay, cool. How did you prioritize all of those things? And she said to me, I didn't want to get caught up in making insignificant things significant. And I said, that is brilliant. That's how it should happen. You shouldn't be making insignificant things significant. Now, if you're not achieving what you want, I guarantee you're making insignificant things significant. Like, you're worried about the $40 phone bill instead of how you can make the next $100,000, right? That should be driving you. How do I make an extra 100 grand this year? And then some of you are going, well, my relationships aren't working. I'm stressed out. I'm frustrated because of all. Okay, cool. How do you become the best communicator on the planet? And then show your family, your friends, everyone around you how to grow, how to communicate more effectively. When you do that, you'll kick ass. Instead of sitting there and going, oh, I might eat healthy today, right? How do I get a six pack? How do I start building my muscles? How do I start making my skin look better? How do I become more attractive? Like, bang, all of those things are going to make you grow. You really need to think about these things, everybody. Anyway, coming back to what I was talking about, is that so many of you are scared and afraid and are playing small because you let fear occupy your mind instead of letting fear drive you to greater things, right? There's no reason to be afraid, because being afraid is going to be the ultimate fear. Like, if you want your fears to turn into reality, keep playing small. I would so much rather have a big crack at life and know that I pushed the fucking limits and left no stone unturned. And then at the end of my life, look back and go, you know what? I had a wicked crack. And you know, I've had friends who have done that and they've passed away and who are older. And they go, you know what? I lived a great life. I got everything that I wanted. And they're happy to die. Whereas I watched my grandfather who passed away at about, I think he was 83 or 84. And he cried every day for the last 2 weeks. He was the strongest man in my family, in the Johnson side of family. And you know what? He cried and he said, I never got to live the life that I wanted to live. Now, he bought a caravan before they retired. That caravan sat in the same place as when they bought it. They would pull it out every couple of years and they would wash it. And they would put it back under the garage or under the carport. And it would sit there. And myself and my sister and my cousins used to go and play in there. So we would go and open the caravan, or I would go and have an afternoon nap in the caravan when I was younger. But that caravan never moved. That was my grandpa's dream. And that's what's going to happen to most of your dreams if you don't step up. If you don't step up and realize that you should be scared of not achieving what you want, not scared to achieve what you want. And until you're committed, you're never really committed. So guys, commit to playing big. Commit to stepping up. Commit to pushing yourself and watch what happens. I guarantee you'll build everything that you need to get there. I have always taken those risks. And when I stopped taking risks was the time that I felt the worst. I remember through COVID when I stopped taking risks and I started playing small. That fucked me up for 3 years. For 3 years, I played small. I was scared. I woke up every day stressed. I woke up every day worrying about all the small things that were happening in the business. I worried every day about one little small thing that someone commented on my Instagram. And it wasn't until I reclaimed that and went, you know what? This is bullshit. And I sat down and I really got clear with my success map. You're probably sick of me talking about success maps, but I got clear with my success map. I went and got mentors. I went and got coaches. I spent every fucking cent that I have, including credit cards. I maxed out some credit cards and I went out there and I just hired who I had to hire to get me back on track. And then from there, I've been on fire ever since. And for some of you that have been in the community for the last 12, 15 months, you would have seen the growth, right? Wait until the next 12 months. I guarantee you'll sit back next year and be like, shit, I'm so glad that I hung around Michael or that I was able to talk to Michael on Instagram, because once we blow this shit up, it's going to be harder to get access. In fact, it's getting harder now. I had to tell someone the other day that I can't do one-on-one coaching at the moment because I'm booked. I'm completely booked. I'm fucking flat out. Saturday night, I worked till 11:30 at night because I had to get shit done. I don't have to. I love doing it. But my point is that you will see that growth. Now, if people around you aren't seeing that growth because you're just sitting there playing around with your pocket marbles, some of you know what that means. But anyway, if you're there playing with your pocket marbles, waiting for shit to change, keep putting things off into the future, not stepping up, watch what happens. You're going to have so much regret. You're going to be so disappointed in yourself. You're going to fucking hate you. You're going to wake up in the morning. You're going to hate you. You're not going to enjoy the life that you've created. I guarantee you, if you step up with courage like most people won't, and yeah, you know what? You're going to fail and people are going to criticize you and judge you. Happens to me all the time. But at the same time, you had a crack. Who gives a shit? The people who are like you will get you. The people who aren't like you won't get you. Now, if you want a bunch of dropkick no-hopers to understand you, then keep acting and being like them. Right? I get it all the time where people comment shit on my social media page. Like, people comment on my supercars. They're like, oh, yeah, fucking show off. I've never had anyone with a supercar say that. I've only had dropkicks say that who have never had a supercar. I've never had business owners who are having a crack turn around and go, well, you know what? They've got shitty customer service. Well, fuck them. They go like, you know what? Probably they're busy. They probably have a ton of shit on. They're probably growing. Like, business owners, real business owners understand other business owners because when you've gone through it, you understand what it takes. You don't understand it if you've never gone through it. So you have to decide who you want to understand you. Do you want high-level people to understand you, or do you want low-level people to understand you? You're going to get criticized by one group. I would rather have high-level people understand. Like yesterday, when I'm on the supercar drive down, I said, hey, I've got to be back home by 12 o'clock. And they said, why? And I said, I got the head of operations coming around of $1 billion company to help me build out my strategy. And they said, oh, fuck, that's pretty cool. They didn't like, oh, man, you got to go. Why are you working on the weekends? It's the weekend. You should have the weekend off. I guarantee most of your friends will say shit like that. Fuck, my friends don't say that. But if your friends say that, you got the wrong friends. Why are you working on the weekend? Why are you working after 5 o'clock? Fuck them. Right? They got no goals. I've never had anyone with big goals say shit like that. Only people with small goals say shit. I've got family members who say that. They're like, oh, what time do you finish work? And I say, well, I don't know, whenever the job gets done, whatever time I need to. Like if I'm tired, I'll finish at 6. I might finish at 5. Yesterday afternoon, I had a power nap between 4 and 6. And then I got back up and I had my Sunday night business coaching call. By the time I wrapped up, it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock. That was a fairly early night, but I had a nap at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, today, I've been going since 7 o'clock this morning. I've been back to back with meetings since 7 o'clock this morning, right? I did have a workout in the middle of the day, but that's about it. And I'll go into about 9 o'clock tonight. There's plenty of people around who, why do you work so much? They're the same people who look at me and they're like, bro, how'd you get a supercar? Did you get lucky? Deal drugs? No, motherfucker, I just worked like 10 times harder than you. And I'm smarter than you. That's how, right? I invested in myself. I grew. Like, you have to understand the people that you're hanging around. If you want to be understood by people who with no goals, no dreams, and who just don't get shit, that's cool. You play with them. You play in their sandpit. But if you want a bunch of driven people that are driven and succeed and are pushing the goals and who are traveling around the world, and when I say travel around the world, they're not flying economy, they're flying business class. They're staying in 6-star hotels, not 3-star hotels or motels. You know, they drive nice cars. Their kids go to nice schools. Why? Because they do the shit that other people won't do. People like them, get them. You hang out and you do what you want, right? This podcast and my community is all about people that are driven to achieve more, that are driven to do better. If you listen to this and you're like, fuck this guy criticizing the average person, then don't listen. Don't be part of the community, right? There's an easy way. Just block me and avoid me. But for those of you out there who have those big goals and big dreams, I got you. I get you. And so does everybody else in this community because we're all like it. I was talking to a guy this morning and he's like, man, I just, I can't rest properly. And I was like, you got to. You have to learn how to switch off. And he's like, yeah, but I just feel guilty. And I'm like, so does everybody else in this community, right? I know because I work with driven people. Driven people feel guilty when they rest. Lazy people don't. Lazy people just want to be lazy when they're fucking working. Driven people, when they rest, they want to work. And when they work, they want to do more work, right? They want to be more productive. That's a driven person, right? Most of you are like that. I get you. And I got you, but most people won't be like that. There's something called the 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle. The Pareto principle states that about 80% of the results come from 20% of the effort that you put in. Now, also, he was a French economist. He looked at that 20% of the world's wealth holds 80% of the money. Now, you have to decide how you want to live. You want to either surround yourself with 80%ers or 20%ers. 20%ers will get the other 20%ers. The 80%ers won't, right? When people are like, oh man, you're lucky because you got a supercar. Or you're lucky because you live in a nice house. Oh man, you're pretty lucky you get to travel. 2 minutes later, they're like, how was your holiday to Singapore? And I was like, yeah, good. What did you do? And I'm like, well, every day I woke up, I did a bit of work. I had to do a podcast every day. Got that done. I still had my team meetings. Sometimes I had client meetings and stuff like that. I still had coaching sessions. I didn't miss a Monday night coaching call, right? I didn't miss a Sunday night coaching call. Sunday night is my business coaching. Monday night is my mindset and lifestyle coaching calls with the clients who buy those products. And they're like, bro, why do you work when you're on holiday? Hang on. You just said how lucky I was. How the fuck do you think I am that lucky? Right, man, this isn't rocket science. Come on, think of it. But they will criticize me for working, doing what I love, by the way. Like, I'm not working because I have to. I work because I love to do this shit. Like, I've found the thing that I enjoy. I love running business. I love helping people to grow. I love helping people to perform better. I love building a community of people that are successful and achieve more and want to do better in life. I love what I do, right? I love learning. I love teaching. But they criticize me 1 second for working, but then at the same time, they're like, wow, you're so lucky. I'm not lucky. I just do things differently. And you've got to decide who you want to hang out with. When I meet people, they're like, that are afraid to post shit on social media because they're like, oh, I'm afraid of the comment section and people judging me. 80% of people aren't going to get you. So anything you post, they're not going to get. They're not going to get how you travel. They're not going to get how you think. They're not going to understand how you live. They're not going to understand how you communicate. They're not going to understand. That's okay. They don't have to. That's why they're 80%ers and you're a 20%er. But you can't be 80%er and then think like a 20%er. You have to decide who you want to hang out with. I don't go out every weekend and get ridden off. I just do things differently. You have to decide how you want to live. For me, there is a non-negotiable. A non-negotiable is not living a great life. That is a non-negotiable. I want to have great relationships with amazing people all over the planet, including most of you, right? That's, if you've been to my events, I come and hang out with you. I don't want to build a community of people I don't like being around. I've watched professional speakers do that. They get on stage and you will never spend time with them. You will never fucking spend time with them. You'll pay $40,000 to go to one of their events and they will not spend a second with you. Why? Because they don't fucking like you. They don't like you because they don't build a community of people that they like. I built a community of people I like. That's what I did, right? You have to decide how you want to live. If you don't like your clients, then get better clients. If you don't like where you work, get a better job. If you don't like your health, then fucking change it. If you don't like the way that your family communicate with you, then help them improve their communication. You have to decide how you want to live. If you don't like the way your mindset's operating, invest in it. Grow that area. Put the effort and the energy into it. Watch what happens. You will completely revolutionize and transform your life to where you wake up and you bounce out of bed and you're like, let's go today. Some days you're going to get your ass kicked. I get it. But you know what? It'll be worth every second, because the greatest thing that you can give yourself is the gift of self-worth, self-love, self-respect, self-confidence, and that shit is not given to you. I've worked with people that have inherited way large sums of money. So I worked with a client who inherited $70 million, and they were one of 36, I think, great-grandchildren. Now, their self-worth was pretty bad, right? Why? Because they never had to work for anything. Any adversity, they would just pay their way out of it. Their kids would fuck shit up. They had no drive, no ambition. They floated around everywhere. Why? Because they never had adversity. They never had to work for anything. So what my point is, guys, is like, you have to decide how you want to live. The greatest gift that you can give yourself is adversity, because adversity shows you where your character flaws are. They show you where your weaknesses are. They show you where the problems are. And if you tweak them and improve them and grow out of them, bang, you start living the life that you want. But the ultimate fear that should be driving you is the fear of a shit life. The ultimate fear that should be driving you is the fear that you never lived up to your potential, that you were given a gift from God, Mother Nature, the universe, life. You pissed on it, you shat on it because you just didn't believe in you, because you let the opinions, the judgments, the criticisms, the fears of other people infiltrate your mind. And so you settled. You settled for comfort. You settled for ease. You settled for this supposed easy life that doesn't fucking exist. You bought into a fairy tale and a fantasy. Some of the most uncomfortable people I've ever met are those who just crave comfort. I don't crave comfort. I love challenge. I love adversity. I love just getting my ass whooped, right? That's the shit that makes me want to grow. So anyway, Driven Mofos, I hope this was the ass kicking that you needed. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great day. Keep kicking ass, and I'll see you back here once again for another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. Remember to rate and review this podcast. It only takes 2 to 3 seconds to click on the little star rating. Hopefully give us a 5-star review. Hopefully you're getting value out of this, especially considering you're paying a total cost of free, and it actually cost me money to get this out there and hire my team to produce it and edit it and everything like that. So please, if you can, 5-star review, or at least give us something good. Have a great day, Driven Mofos, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace out. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.